Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to the channel where I share my financial self-care journey as well as the tools I'm using to become financially independent. If that is something you're interested in, be sure to join our community by subscribing and hitting the bell. So I wanted to address the fact that it's been a few weeks since I posted, and that's because I've been going through some pretty drastic life changes over the past couple of weeks. So I just needed a mental break and time to reset and just kind of recover from that. And I'm still recovering from it. So I'm taking things slow, but I am ready to get back into posting again. So today we're getting right back in the groove of things and reviewing my budget for March. I'm gonna head over to Monarch Money, share my screen, and we'll get started. All right, so we are here in Monarch, and normally I would start my budget review by looking at my spending trends of March compared to February, but I don't think I want to continue doing that because it's really only helpful during the month when I'm spending and I just want to see if I'm on track to spend more. But for the most part, I'm pretty consistent when it comes to my spending, so I don't think I'm going to include it in my budget review anymore. But that's only for the time being because my financial review process is dynamic, as everyone else's should be, so I can always bring that back into my process later, but I don't think it's going to make or break my monthly review process in general. With that being said, we are going to head over to the accounts page, and you can see we have some new net worth options here in the top right. So if you click on this drop down, we are now able to have different net worth charts based on if we want to see like day by day over the course of the past couple of months. So you can see my highest point of my net worth is usually in the middle of the month after I get that second paycheck, because I still have a lot of money left over from the previous paycheck, and then I just got a new one. I will do a separate video on this new net worth chart feature, but in the meantime, I do encourage you to explore the different options that they have here, because I think it's going to be very useful, especially since it was a very highly requested feature over the past couple of months. I'm going to scroll to the bottom of my account so you can see the balances that I have for everything. So this account for the rent balance, when we started in December, I had just under 16,000 and I have currently got it to 14,300. So I can definitely feel the progress and I can't wait to pay this off. The next one I have is my business membership. I explained in my last budget review that I have decided to hide this from my net worth because this is not necessarily a debt, but I'm keeping it here on the page so I can see my balance and see how much longer I have to pay it off. So this is at $900 and I am still on track to pay this off by the end of the year. My student loans are on pause until October. And then for my other student, I got the balance down to $733 and I have been aggressively paying this off. So any extra money that I get in a month, I just put towards this. You can see that ever since I started putting extra money towards it in February, I have been making some pretty steady progress in bringing this balance down drastically. So I'm going to guesstimate that maybe by July or August, I could have this completely paid off, as opposed to the original November of this year date that I thought I would have. Next, I have my 401k plan, and in February, I started contributing to my 401k again and also got the employer match. So you can see over the past month and a half, I've had pretty rapid growth compared to before. So my employer match is definitely helping out, and I encourage anyone who has the opportunity to get an employer match from their job to take advantage of it, because that's free money that you don't want to miss out on. And then for the rest of my accounts, I checked my work transit account and this is the balance. Okay, Coda. And the rest of these balances are accurate. And lastly, to look at my net worth, I don't necessarily need the net worth performance where it breaks it down by day. So I am going to go back to the net worth breakdown, which is what I normally do. And we'll go ahead and look at my net worth changes between February and March. So in February, my net worth was negative $24,666.62. And in March, I got that up to negative $23,304.29. So that was a positive net worth change of $1,362.33. My net worth is growing way faster than I thought it would. That just gives me more money to put towards my debt, so I'm super excited. Now we're at the recurring tab to make sure all of my scheduled transactions came out this month, and I have checks next to everything. One thing I did notice that I wanted to point out is that when I spend money at Instacart, if I split the transaction after it's already been categorized as a merchant, those splits don't show up here. So it looks like I spent a lot of money on groceries this month, even though a lot of that went to household and pet supplies and things like that. I'm not too concerned because I don't actually use this particular view to make my budgeting decisions, but that is something to note. So I think for this month in April, I'm going to experiment splitting the transaction after I switch the merchant so that it doesn't show up all as groceries here on the bill calendar. And I'll give you all an update and maybe a tutorial based on how that goes for me. Now we're going to head over to my transactions and I'm going to look at last month. There we go. And I've already reviewed these transactions off camera. So what I'm going to do is specifically focus on my work transactions. Let's see, I got the reimbursement and I spent this. It looks like I forgot to get a reimbursement for this one. So I'll have to add this one to my to-dos to request a reimbursement for. And see, this is why I always double check my numbers, because you never know if things like this are going to slip through the cracks, even if they're categorized and tagged correctly. Now we're going to head over to the budget, which is the meat and potatoes of the whole system. And we will start from the top. So my take-home paychecks are going to be a total of $32.21 from now on. That includes the contributions that I'm making to my retirement. So this will be the new normal. I rolled over $65 from last month and I got $17 in interest this month, which is on par with what I thought it would be because my interest income has been slowly increasing over the past couple of months as I continue to save more. For potential, you'll see that I got $139 from my business and I got $685 in reimbursements, which was mainly my tax refund. And you'll see as we go down through the categories how I divided that up between my spending and savings goals. So that meant that this month I had a total of $4,127 to work with. We're going to ignore the placeholders group for now, as I usually do, and look at my needs. So the notable changes here are that I spent less on groceries than I thought, and that's because I realized I had a lot of food that was just kind of sitting in my kitchen. So I decided to use that instead of just buying new food. So I was able to save some money there. I ended up spending a little bit more than expected in household because I just ended up needing a lot more things, which was fine. And the same goes for transportation. I ended up spending more money on Uber than expected, and that wasn't for work, so I'm not getting that money back, but it's fine because I was able to adjust my budget accordingly. And then for pet supplies, this was $80, and I've noticed that my average over the past couple of months has been higher than the $50 that I originally planned for. So I'm just going to set a budget of $80 going forward and see where that takes me. So for once, you'll see that I have some high spending areas, and this is where a lot of my tax refund money went. So starting with health and wellness, I actually bought an exercise bike, which was a little over $200, and that is why my budget for this month was so high. But I don't regret it at all because I have been using my bike every day, so I know I'm getting a good return on investment, and of course investing in my physical health as well. I also wanted to point out that protein shakes are becoming a normal monthly recurring expense for me, so I'm still going to keep it in health and wellness, but I might adjust my budget for health and wellness in the future, considering that I'm going to be categorizing my protein shakes in this category. I did spend a little bit more in restaurants than expected, and then my next big spending category was home, and that's because I'm investing in my space a little bit more. I was kind of stuck in this mindset that because this place is temporary, I didn't want to make this place look pretty, but I realized I can just take the things with me when I move, and I want to be as comfortable as possible in this space. So I started spending money on this, and I will continue to do that because that's what's comfortable for me. I also celebrated somebody's birthday this month, so I did get them a gift. Next, I have my wealth categories, and the first one, which is going to be the same for a while, is my debts, and that was $565. And then I put $50 to my tithes like I normally do. Now, for my loans and extra debt payments, this was actually really interesting. So I put $160 of extra payments towards my debts, but then my scheduled payment for my loan, the scheduled minimum payment, actually didn't process on my account. So I called them today and they said they'll get back to me because they're not sure what happened. But I just think it was interesting that these got swapped out essentially. Next, I have my other group, which I normally don't have anything to share. But this month was tax season, so I spent $125 through TaxSlayer to file my taxes. And then I also had some unexpected expenses of $30 because my power went out and I needed to get some food. Lastly, for my goals section, let's talk about all of these savings contributions that I made. So for the moving fund, I contributed $415 and then also got just under $11 in interest. For the bill sinking fund, I actually depleted this to pay for my taxes because I consider that to be part of my sinking funds for this goal. And then shopping is where I put the rest of my tax refund that I didn't spend. So I still saved $226, which is amazing. And the reason this is in the shopping category is because I do plan to go on a shopping spree for some clothes next month, and I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to pull it from. So for now, I just assigned it to this goal, and if I end up pulling it from somewhere else or just cash flowing it next month, at least I know that I have this here. For my 1 month emergency fund, I contributed $100 and got $2 in interest. And then for my 1K emergency fund, that is staying at $1,000. And thankfully, I haven't had to pull from it at all. So this is just collecting interest on its own. And I got $4 in interest on that account this month. I also wanted to point out that for my contributions, you'll see that I have $1 left. And then for my expenses, it says that I'm over $1. This is the same glitch that I talk about every time, which is that with Monarch Money, because we currently do not have the ability to put in the exact change, sometimes that change rolls over into the calculations a little bit weird. And so it makes it seem like you have $1 or so left in each section. But since we have a positive one and a negative one here, they cancel out anyways, and so we don't have to worry about it. And you'll see that I have $46 remaining. So what I always do is check my bank balance to make sure that that lines up, and it did for this month. So now to get this $46 out of the top right corner, I'm gonna open up the placeholders drop down. And for this month's rollover, I'm going to type in 46. And now we have a zero-based budget because no money is left unassigned. So that means we closed out this budget correctly. Now we're here on the cash flow tab to compare my March spending to February. So in February, I spent $32.86, and in March, I spent $34.49. And I still ended up saving a total of $613, even with all the spending that I did. So I'm very happy with that progress. And then if I go down here to the Sankey diagram and do it by group, let's take a look at my percentages. So I saved 15%. My needs were actually 39%. And I always aim for 50%. So I'm surprised that it's that low. I think it's also because I have a little bit of this spending here and other, but still, that was really good. For my wants, I spent 22% and I try to aim for 20%. And then for my wealth, I spent about 20%. So all in all, even with all of the additional spending that I did this month and paying for my taxes, I still followed a pretty good ratio with all of my spending, so I'm happy with that. And lastly, we're going to take a look at my goals just to show you the balance of everything right now. So the moving fund is at $3,300. The bill sinking fund is depleted because I just withdrew all of that to pay for my taxes. And then for shopping, I have $234.94. And then my 1 month emergency fund is at $504. And then the $1,000 emergency fund is at $1,014. So I'm getting a lot of interest in that just by not touching the money. And then of course my retirement is currently at $1,029 and it's only April. I expected to reach $2,500 by December, but with the rapid growth that I've been getting lately, I think I might hit the $2,500 mark earlier than December, which is very exciting. All right, we are here on my projections dashboard in Google Sheets, and I'm going to enter in my numbers from March. But remember that I like to keep this historical data, so I moved these cells one column over so that I can see what I plan to get versus what I actually got. So for cash, I expected to have $57.60.42, and I actually had $52.49.61. So a little bit lower than expected, but I'm not surprised because of the spending that I did. And then for my investments, I expected $748.69, and I actually had $953.33. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, you can see that is a pretty big gap here on the chart compared to what I thought I would get, but I'm not complaining. And then for my debts, I expected the balance to be $29,724, and I actually had $29,507, so just about $200 less in my debt balance than I thought, which is a good thing. And lastly, for my total net worth, I thought I would have negative $23,425.28. Thankfully, I can just drag this formula down and we'll get the actual. So I had an actual net worth of negative $23,304.29, which of course, as I showed earlier on the Monarch charts, this is a positive net worth change of $1,300. All right, everyone, that is it for today's budget review. I am super excited with the progress that I'm making, and I'm excited to be back making videos for you all. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you want a one-on-one session with me about how to use Monarch Money, you can use the link in the description or go to pen.paper.com/book. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.